Today on Vantage Revival, we go to college. Or do we? In this film directed by Steve Pink, starring some huge stars like Justin Long, Jonah Hill, and Blake Lively, Bartleby Gaines gets rejected from all colleges. In order to please his parents, he creates a fake acceptance letter and a fake college. Once more students show up believing they have been accepted into college, B and his friends have to figure out how to educate these students, and fast. Accepted, now playing on Vantage Revival. Hi.
Hello. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast. I want to start this by saying where our stance is on college or university or whatever.
Okay.
You?
I am college edumacated. I went to school for broadcasting, and there are definitely pros and cons to going to college.
Definitely.
And there are pros and cons of not going to college.
Definitely.
So if you're asking me where I stand on if I think college is what's needed for everyone, the answer is no. And I think it's a waste of time and money, a little bit yes. But it really depends on what you're going for, ultimately.
100%. And I am a college dropout. I started college for legal assistant, and then I switched to marketing and design, and I still dropped out after that, which I'm proud of. I know this is so stupid, but there's a Luke Combs song. Sorry, I know. There's a Luke Combs song, and it says, I almost finished college, but I ain't cut from that cloth. And then it follows with, used to wish I was, but I'm glad I'm not. And I think that's such like a strong, powerful message that like it's okay to not be who you thought you were gonna be,
or what
society
other people thought you were gonna be,
thinks you should be, which I think kind of like jumps into this like first note. I just want to talk about the difference in the view of how going to college and everything was back in 2006 when this movie came out versus nowadays, where you can literally become a millionaire by posting a TikTok, and just seeing the difference between like back then. And I know that they were jabbing at it in the movie as well, where like, you're not going to be anybody if you don't go to college. You're not cool if you don't go to college. Obviously they were being dramatic about that, but that was really how it was back in those days. It was, you finish high school and you go straight into college. And if you were one of those people that was like, I'm taking a year off, you were crazy for taking a year off between going to college. And now college and university isn't as sought out as it used to be.
Well, it's a different landscape completely, right? And as somebody who was 18 in 2006, yep. I definitely fall into the category of what these people went through and the expectations of your family, your friends, society as a whole. And I still think there's a benefit to some education. And for myself, I'm very grateful for what I did learn, but a lot of it was self-taught. And in most fields, I feel you can kind of self-teach or work your way to the top with the opportunity of someone who's willing to give it to you. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I agree that there is less of a demand to figure out yourself the minute you finish high school now, that it is more widely accepted to take some time for yourself, figure out who you are. And to be honest, if I had gone from high school right to college, it would have been a very different experience for me. I went to college when I was 25, I want to say. I was like old, I guess, compared to a lot of people in my class. But our experiences were quite different. Mm-hmm. And I saw how the 18-year-olds were struggling because they went from a high school mentality to college is not high school.
Yeah.
And the expectations are very different. And you're given a lot more freedom, but with the expectation that you are going to be responsible and do what's assigned to you. A lot of the skills that I did learn, the education that I picked up on, I have used since that day, since the first day of college, right? I went into this program being very shy, not even sure if I wanted to be in the program because I wanted to go for film, not broadcasting.
Yeah.
But I couldn't afford film school. A whole different story. But again, I was really shy and I was very scared to like do things. And being in this program forced me literally, if I didn't get out of my comfort zone away from my shyness and my insecurities, I wouldn't have passed. I wouldn't have been able to do this. If you had asked me a year before I had applied, if I could be on TV and have my face in front of people and let them hear my voice, which I hate my voice, or I did at least. I hated my voice so much. I would have said, no way, I will never be on screen. And even when I did their night class before I got accepted, which is a whole different story, which we'll get into later, before I got accepted, I had to take a night course and I said, nope, I just want like the camera stuff or the editing. I don't want to be on screen. And then I did it got over that fear really quickly, shockingly. And I loved it. I was like, put me on screen. I don't even care. I'll do it. And everyone else is like, oh, I'm shy. I don't want to. I'm like, I'll do it. And like, even though I knew that was not my strength, so to speak, I felt comfortable being in front of the camera. And so it's carried me through a lot of different things. And even us working at Breakout, I did a lot of on-screen things with different broadcasters and whatnot. So it's carried me since then.
No, that's awesome. You said something in there where you just mentioned that you learned many other things aside from education that has brought you to your point where you're at today, which I think the main thing that is the focus on this is the podcast is very similar to what your education in broadcast would connect to, I would say. If I'm wrong, correct me.
No.
I just want to be sure.
My thing in broadcasting was radio and television.
Yeah. So kind of getting more into like the premise of the movie, I'm just going to cover something. This guy Bartleby doesn't get into college. His parents are pissed, telling him that he's throwing his life away. He's going to be nothing without college. And then he creates a fake acceptance letter.
To a fake college.
A fake college, a fake website. And essentially the parents put him through all these challenges where he ends up leasing an old building and turning it into a fake college.
An old asylum.
And then the first day of college, a bunch of other people show up saying we got accepted into this college because the website was clickable. Essentially. All of these people were what I like to call like misfits. I would consider myself kind of like an outcast or a misfit when it came to like schooling, family, that kind of stuff. Like I'm definitely a little bit different, wired a little bit of a different way. And I've got mental health problems, which just puts me in a whole other thing too. I think that was the whole premise of the movie, was you can learn other things in college than just
the facts,
the textbook dots and T's and I's and blahs and right? Like...
No, you're completely right. And that is exactly my point of I did learn so much more. And if I hadn't have had that full college experience, I would not have been able to become a better version of myself.
100%.
I would have been very different from who I am today if I did not have those years of experiences, the good and the bad of being a part of it, right? So yeah, no, I completely agree that college should be looked at less of what is your mark and your final grade and more of the experiences you have.
And your growth.
Yeah, and that includes the fun stuff too. Have fun. And that's the one thing that I regret. I hate regrets, but that's the one thing I do regret the most is that I wish I had had more fun. Because there was many times where like, let's go out. And I'd be like, no, like I want to work on this project or, you know, I want to do an all-nighter and edit this program, like whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
And looking back, it's like, no, I wish I had spent more time having fun because at the end of the day, the marks didn't matter. None of my previous jobs, even in the broadcasting world, asked for my transcripts, called my school, even called my references. If anything, they called my work references that weren't even related to school. So did it really matter that I wasted so many nights perfecting something that A, only a teacher saw, and B, I got a mark that no one saw? This movie I did kind of relate to because, you know, he's not getting accepted into the schools that he's applying to.
Yeah.
And I was not accepted when I first applied for broadcasting school. And I was pretty bummed, but I knew it was risky. My high school grades are not poor by any means, but there's a few little holes in some of the marks that may not be the most appealing for people looking at admissions. So I did not get accepted. And I went down to the college and I said, why? Why was I not accepted? This is kind of a crazy story. So they're like, your social is just not high enough. And I was like, okay. So if I redo my social, I have a way better chance of getting in. They're like, yes. If you have a higher social mark, you have a higher chance of getting in. Cool. So I redid my social. I got correspondence, did it between working full-time, upgraded my social, and I did raise that mark up. I applied for the next semester, waited and waited, got the letter saying, you did not get in. Your grades are not good enough. At that point, I was really bummed because I already asked what I could do, and they're still saying my grades are not good enough. So I went back to admissions again, and they're like, oh, it's your science. Your science is not good enough. And I was like, that's not fair. I was like, this is now 2 years in a row, and I asked the first year what I had to do, and you guys said my social, and I did that. And now you're saying it's my science. So next year, if I apply, will it be my math? Like, it's not fair. I'm like, I've proven myself. I did what you guys told me to do. The admissions was like, I can only tell you what I know. This is what it says. Your science is not good enough. And I kind of held my ground. And I was just like, but I've proven myself. Even if my science is not good enough, can you tell me what I need science for in broadcasting? Am I using science on a daily basis? I need to know why this is now the factor of why I'm not good enough. And I think she like really felt that I cared about this and that I was actively trying. And she's like, hey, give me like a minute. And so it's like, oh, I have no idea what's going on. So she leaves. She comes back and she's like, so I talked to the dean. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, I can't guarantee that you'll get in, but this is a step in the right direction. And I'm like, well, I already heard that once.
Yeah.
Will I be fooled twice? Let's see. And she's like, if we have a night course, and if you do it and you prove that you are capable of doing that, you have a higher chance of getting in. And I was like, nervous because I knew I could do it, but I didn't want the same thing where I succeed yet again and then I'm told it's not good enough.
Yeah, you come back next year and they say it's your science.
Yeah. So I did the night course, and on day 2 of me being in this program, the teacher came up to me and said, why are you not in the main program? You are so good. And like, that was great to hear. Like, this is validation first off, but it's also, I knew that I was capable. And that's what I said. I was like, I know that I'm capable of doing this. It's just my marks, according to this school, says I'm not good enough, which is a different tangent of I'm a strong believer, as I'm this person, that grades really don't matter. It is a lot about who you are.
I agree.
And who I was when I was 17 is a lot different than who I am at 25.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know? And again, that life skills have changed who I am. I'm a stronger, more mature person. So the fact that my social and science were a little low does not mean I'm an incapable person of succeeding in other aspects of my life.
Yeah.
So anyways, I finished the night course and they wouldn't tell me yay or nay, but my teacher for the program was just like, I have good feelings, just wait. And so then I got the acceptance letter saying I got into the program, and they waived all my fees for applying because I've already paid twice. So yeah, that was very nice of them. That was very nice of them, I guess. But I got in, so I completely understand that need or want to get into a program you're trying to get into. And it sucks when you don't. And it shows in this movie in a pretty realistic way that it does suck when you apply. And in this movie, the entire populace of the class did not get accepted into other schools, and that's why they're in this fake school unknowingly. And it's kind of a cool scene because B wants to shut everything down, wants to close the fake school, get everyone out, and who knows how he's going to do it. But then he asks them, like, were you accepted other colleges and universities? And they all say no. And it hits him like, shit, this is shit. The acronym for this college. He realizes all these people are me, and I need to figure this out to give these people a home because they can't go back to their houses and admit they were never accepted into a college.
I love what this movie says about people who aren't Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, right? And he says, we say yes to your flaws. And I love that line. We, meaning the fake college, says yes to your flaws. And I love that because I do really feel like you said about like broadcasting, they're going to choose the prettier person or the more confident person or this. Whereas his goal in this fake college, once he knew that this was something he wanted to run, was being a friend to everybody who was just like him, who's a little bit nerdy, a little different, not smart enough to get into college, the guy that doesn't want to go to college maybe necessarily. Like saying yes, like this, we say yes to your flaws line, it really gets me every time because it's so true. Like not a lot of places say yes to your flaws, but they seem like such a, you could just walk into that school and just be friends with anybody. And I love that about it. I think that's what I love about like misfit or outcasts in general is so many people are so like cliquey in high school and college, whatever. But misfits will always be misfits, and they'll always, like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, they'll always, it doesn't matter what you look like, how you are, what's going on with you mentally, you will fit in with these other people because you guys are so similar in that way.
Yes. And also no.
Don't tell me no. This is my movie. But I want to segue this a little bit, as far as looks go, to Sherman Schrader, who's played by Jonah Hill, who is Bartleby's best friend.
Who I think is the best character in the whole movie.
You laughed. You for the first time ever, you vocally laughed at a part in one of my movies. And it was when they're first getting to the asylum. They're breaking in to see what it looks like.
Yes.
And a dead body falls out of the ceiling. And this is the scream that Dee hears. Insert scream here. Jesus. If you guys have seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. That girl scream when the dead body falls from the ceiling, and Dee actually laughed, which I don't think that's even the funniest part of the movie. And Dee thought it was hilarious. So that felt really good. But Sherman, yes, he classic meme. Ask me about my wiener. He's dressed up as a sperm at one point.
We'll get back to that too.
Definitely being hazed. This, I think, is the big difference between what I'm saying, like misfit outcast versus cliquey. Obviously, like Harmon is like a play on Harvard, I'm assuming.
Maybe.
Because they talk about like Princeton and they talk about all that, but they never say Harvard, and then they're Harmon. So whatever. It's the fact that he's kind of like the nerdy, he's the fat guy, he's not popular whatsoever, trying to fit into this BKE soror fraternity. And your opinion on that?
I would hope that's an outdated way of how people are still treated in colleges and universities when they get in, with that whole hazing thing, first off. That was a thing for us in high school back in the day, and...
Whoa, it was a thing in my high school.
I did not participate because I am not into being destroyed for no reason for the sake of someone else's pleasure, publicly at least, you know? I remember back in high school, they had hazing week, and anyone that was outside on the streets, you were fair game to be hazed, and it was just being beat up, essentially, and being covered with eggs and ketchup and then punched in the face. Like, wow, lots of fun that would have been.
Yeah.
I'm so sad I missed out on that. So I hope that's not the case anymore when it comes to college and universities. And I think there's more laws now protecting students, because there has been cases where students have died in hazing incidents.
That actually, sorry, me saying that it was in my high school, it was when I was going into grade 11 that this like law was like super like forced, because they were like, no more of this stuff, which is so funny because it was right after my quote unquote freshman year. But I didn't get hazed, so it doesn't matter. But
lucky. But again, people have been murdered, and that's literally insane.
Yeah, it's too far.
To prove yourself to nobodies, essentially. But yeah, I think it's sad. I think it's meant to be sad in this film too, that he is literally beaten up at one point. And it shows that you need to have a little bit more self-respect for yourself. And that's because you'll go farther once you do realize that it's more important to be yourself than to change yourself for somebody based off of their standing in society.
I think that his disregard to the humiliation that he's being put through, being like, my brothers have gone through this for years. I think that was just his way of trying to be like, and he says, I'm happy. Don't tell me that I'm not happy. It is his way of being like, no, this is normal. This is part of college. And it's like, that's not a part of college though. Partying, spring break, all this stuff has kind of made it into like, it should be the best 4 years of your life, when really it should just be you gaining more education. It's kind of turned into something that it's not, but this has brought on the hazing and all of that stuff as well, right? And it does, like, it's sad because we know that the movie's portraying that Sherman should be a part of shit, which is self-Harmon Institute of Technology, by the way. But he should be a part of shit rather than be a part of Harmon, because it's kind of where he belongs. But it also shows, like, it's where he belongs, because why should he go get hazed at a school, be embarrassed, be humiliated, lose his pride, when he can go to a place where he will be accepted no matter what.
So I want to talk about the comedy in this movie, because you love this movie and you were laughing quite a bit.
I love it.
I don't think it's nearly as funny as it could have been. And my problem with this movie, I felt like it had decent setups, but the comedic timing was off. Mm-hmm. So there'd be like things happening in the background that are supposed to be funny, but it was like it was 1 second too early or 1 second too late. The movie kind of felt empty to me. And I don't know if that's because technically it is an empty movie where they're building up this college and building up everything. I think this movie suffers because the mid-2000s especially, there were a lot of comedies that were coming out, and a lot of really good comedies and very similar comedies. And I think this came out, a few years after like Euro Trip, Road Trip, Rat Race. I don't know if you've seen those movies.
No.
Okay, well, we have more to add because there are some funny movies that came out right around this one. And I feel like if it maybe came out before them, it would have been funnier for me, but it didn't go to the level that those movies did.
Yeah.
And this one I felt was more of a sincere story, maybe. There definitely is a heart to the story, but the comedy I just felt wasn't there, which is why the dead body scene was so funny to me, because nothing had really happened up until that point, and then it was just like, fuck, there's a dead body. Like, I did not expect there to be a full-on dead body in a comedy movie. So like, took me off guard, and I want that to happen more.
Yeah.
There's one character that you said you kept loving, this guy who he wants to have like telekinesis and blow things up with his mind. But they didn't do anything with him. Like he's in a couple scenes for 5 seconds each. And I kept thinking, okay, she loves this character. There has to be a point where he has a storyline. He actively does something. And he does, but not to the literal end right before the credits. He does something.
Yeah.
The comedy characters in this were like that guy, the dropout who can't keep a job. Yeah, those are the comedy people in this movie, but they don't give them anything. They have no storylines.
Yeah.
They have nothing to provide to the plot other than a stupid piece of dialogue every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think that took away from me because they weren't fully developed characters. They were cartoonish. And it wasn't... This movie is not cartoonish in my opinion. It's very much looking for that acceptance and convincing people to do good things and don't do bad things and don't be around bad people. There's a moral message to this movie. And the comedy takes a big backseat for me.
I see that. And so this is where I think you're right. And this is like, it's meant to be a comedy. And I do find it funny. And I think that guy's funny just because he's so quiet and to himself. But he's like the line where he's just, what is this place? It's a Self-Harmon Institute of Technology, the best college ever. It's very like Napoleon Dynamite to me. And I don't know if you like Napoleon.
I love Napoleon Dynamite.
I think that there's two people in this world. People who absolutely are obsessed, could watch it every day, Napoleon Dynamite. And then there's people who literally would rather burn their eyes out with matches than watch Napoleon Dynamite. And I'm definitely on the I love Napoleon Dynamite side. And so I think that's where that's what the character gets me. Is he's a very like, he doesn't really have a storyline. Does Napoleon really have a storyline? Not really, the whole movie.
He does,
but like he's just this gosh guy, right? And that's why I find like this, he's literally in the credits, he's called Freaky Student. That's literally his part, right?
His title, yeah.
So yeah, I see that. And like I do get having more plot for more characters, but...
What was Harem's storyline?
Yeah, that he wanted to play football.
That's nothing, really. They didn't even touch upon that, really. Did he end up playing football?
No, he ended up carving fucking dicks.
So, there you go. The girl, what's her name? Not Blake Lively, the redhead.
Rory?
Mm-hmm. What was her storyline?
She planned everything to try and get into college, and she didn't get into college, so now she's trying to be more calm and reserved and relaxed.
But she was already pretty calm and relaxed.
Yeah, like after her first scene, she was. Yeah, like, and I'm not disagreeing.
So that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Where this story is the face of a comedy, but there doesn't tend to be a lot of comedy. There's a lot of comedy, but it doesn't land because the characters have no storylines.
Yeah, I do. I agree with you. 100%. And I think this is just a good time to talk about what this part that I want to talk about.
Let's go away from this. I don't want to talk about the flaws in this movie. Okay. But I do have a question for you, because I don't understand. I either missed something, or maybe I have a hard time disbelieving. Did they use everyone's admissions money? Like, how did they maintain everything? Like, keeping it open, rent, power, installing, skateboard stands. Like, was it made clear how this was all happening?
Yeah. Did
how?
You fall asleep?
Maybe.
There's a part right when they first all come in, and they send hands to go check the P.O. box.
Yeah, and all the money's there.
And they pour out a bunch of
envelopes,
mail,
yeah.
And then he hands over 100 checks, and he says $10,000 each, and then they say, that's $74 million, the Glenn guy.
Yeah, I remember all that.
So I mean,
but they were very much like, oh shit, like, we shouldn't have this money. That was the mentality they had. They didn't say, oh, let's go build a school with this. Like, that's my point. Is they never.
Yeah, no, and then he didn't do that thing in the gymnasium yet. They were gonna give the money back and stop the college. So I think after that, at least to me, it was made clear that, I mean, how else would they be doing it? But they also say at one point, when that guy comes to deliver kegs to the dean, he's like, oh, I want to go to college. And he's like, sorry, man, like, it's full up. And he's just like, I just got my whatever check and I can pay 4 years up front. And he's like, you're in. So you can tell, obviously, that, like, they need the money to keep up with this lifestyle. And if the guy's going to pay $80,000 up front. Okay. So next question then. Do you really think that not one of those students were like, where's the university? When do we start learning real shit? Like, not one. No, 100%. it is accounted for in my ratings.
Okay.
About it, so don't worry.
Because I thought that was kind of odd that literally have 400 students in this school that's not made. There's no classrooms, nothing, and not one is not happy that they're actually not learning anything. We're all like, oh yeah, it's a party every day. We do nothing. We learn about how not to do things. And it's like, I can see a lot of people being happy about that, but a lot of people like, I just spent all my money on this and I'm not learning shit. I
don't like what you said about them not learning stuff, because I think that's
traditionally.
Thank you. I think that's a point that
I mean, one of the classes was watch girls in bathing suits float on floaties. So I mean, I don't know how much you're learning there.
But no, I understand that, and I get it. That's supposed to be the comedy of it.
Mm-hmm.
But there is something that connects to that. When B goes to visit Monica, which we haven't even talked about her yet. Either way, she's the jock's girlfriend that B likes.
It's played by Blake Lively with her original face.
And her crazy extensions that definitely were hidden so well in the movie. Anyway, so she talks about how she's got all these classes that's like, whatever she has, I don't know. Let's say she says science, math, and English, whatever.
Language arts.
Language arts. I know that they do not call it that in the States. It's something else. So she says that she wanted to go in for photography, but she can't just go in for photography. She has to go in for a bachelor's in this and a bachelor's in this, and she doesn't want to take either of those, so she's just not doing photography anymore. I think that's where the whole learning thing and learning differently comes into play, is that when you sign up or enroll in university or college, you have to take a minor in this, a master in this, a this and this, just to get to the one objective that you want to be. And you have to take all these other classes just to get there. Whereas in this fake college, I guess you could say, if they want to be in a rock band, that's the class they're in. They're playing music, they're practicing, they're doing this. I know. I'm saying this in the life of a movie life, okay? Not in real life.
I have a point to make after you're done.
Okay.
Are you done?
So, but what I'm just saying that in shit college, you get to spend all of your time wood carving because that's what you like to do. You don't have to go take math because for some reason you need to take math to be a wood carver, which, I mean, it would make sense. But you just get to learn how to be a wood carver without having any interruptions of all this other stupid stuff that you have to go through. Whereas in Harmon, you have to go to all these classes you don't want to go to, or you have to take minors or bachelors or whatever in things that you don't want to take just so that you can get to your end goal. Just makes no sense.
Okay, I need to counteract what you just said about sticking to one thing that you love or just focusing on one aspect of what you like to learn about. Mm-hmm. Though I do agree that there should be emphasis put on the one thing you really, really want to do, there is a huge positive to doing things that, again, are outside your comfort zone or things that you don't want to do, especially in team environments or working in a field that requires you to be compassionate towards someone else. So I'll use my schooling, for example, my broadcasting. Some people wanted to be videographers. Some wanted to be on-air talent. Some wanted to edit. Some wanted to do the audio. They had no interest in being on screen. But everyone had to. Everyone had to learn every single aspect. You were not expected to be a pro at every aspect, but you had to know, because it was important to know the pressures that were on every single person, because it's so easy to dismiss somebody going, why'd they screw up? What's taking so long? Why are they doing it this way? Because you don't know the pressure that's also on them for their individual job. So there's such a benefit to that you know the struggles that everyone feels. And then you can also be like, yeah, I know why that person does that because I had to do that. So I get it. And you don't have that resentment towards somebody, especially in a business that is very competitive or very, timing was very important. We have a show, we have to send it off to Toronto to be put on air. It has to be submitted by 4:00. If it's not, we're not making it to air, we're fined, we're sued, whatever it was going to be, which wouldn't happen to us, but it was still a problem. We're still making a commitment to a national broadcaster. These responsibilities are put on everybody as a team. And if you don't know what everyone's expectations are or what's expected of them, A, you're not compassionate towards any issues, and B, how can you help if you have no idea what you're doing?
I agree with you in what you're saying, because I think if you're in something, so even let's say you're in something like, I want to do woodworking, okay, well maybe you have to learn how to build a shelf out of, or I don't know how to. So here, let me just finish my thought. So, sorry.
How dare you?
Screw you, let me finish my thought. So, in broadcasting, you're saying they have to learn every piece of broadcasting. Whereas I'm saying, like, there's some people, and let's just say, for instance, somebody is really good at hockey and they get a scholarship to go to university to play hockey. They're still forced to take XYZ classes because they have to be in classes to do that. But if they're in university for hockey, and this is just an example, this can go like many different ways. I'm just using this as an example. If they're in university for hockey, why do they have to take math? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and to me, it still kind of does, because hockey won't last forever.
Well,
not everyone is instantly famous because they're in hockey.
Well, I disagree.
Do you think everyone's instantly famous the minute they're in hockey? You think every player is equal of importance?
No, but I think that...
And you think that they don't work outside of being in hockey, some of them?
I think... Not if you're in the NHL.
But you're saying NHL. There's lots of different hockey games.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like obviously there's like AHL, there's C something, NHL, whatever. There's the smaller leagues as well. But what I'm saying is, like, if I'm going to university to be in hockey, just once again as an example, my goal isn't to make it to the AHL. My goal is to make it to the NHL. And that's what I'm going to strive for, is to be on the NHL until I'm in the NHL. And I think that that's what a lot of hockey players go into. Their goal is to be in the NHL. It's not to stop any short of that. So that is their main goal, right?
Maybe.
And maybe not. But I think that's the point, is that, like, and like I said, this is completely just as an example, just to do this. Maybe some people in hockey don't want to do that. Maybe some people are just playing hockey in their free time, whatever, right? Maybe they do just want to make it to an AHL team, whatever it is, right? But I'm just saying, like, as an example, like, if I'm going to university, for me personally, if I'm going to university, let's say, or if I'm going to schooling to be a singer, I don't want to take social studies on the side. I don't want to learn history. I don't want to do this, because it has nothing to do with what I strive to be in my career. I signed up to school to go be a singer. Why am I...
Again, maybe. There's a reason they're doing it. They're not doing it just to torture somebody, right?
Yeah, they're doing it to make more money, but yes.
You're paying for a semester either way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also a person who barely graduated high school, and I hate school, and I don't know why I started college, because I hate school, but... And I'm a college dropout because I hate school.
So what you're saying is the pros may not be as pro.
But just like in this movie alone, it really does go to show that, like, she's literally saying, like, I wanted to take photography and I can't just take photography. I have to do all this other stuff. Well, so she just chose not to do photography at all.
No, yes and no. It was more implied that there was no photography course, that they were attached to other courses like forensic that needed to do the forensic stuff, and they needed forensic photography. That was more what was in line. It just wasn't a straight photography class. She easily could have taken a photography class anywhere else if she picked a different school. You know,
yeah, like shit.
They didn't even have photography class.
Okay, she could have written it on the board.
She didn't even do that.
She could have taught it.
Would you drink a shrimp slushie?
No. Not a chance. I hate shrimp. I hate it.
I love shrimp.
I love slushies. Hate shrimp.
I kind of don't care for slushies, but I love shrimp. So I would try a shrimp slushie.
Let's create this recipe though. Is it just...
Like, is it a sugar shrimp slushie?
Did he just, like, take Pepsi and put shrimp inside of it? Or was it, like, he took, like, a Sprite, like a white, like a clear soda, and then he put what is that sauce that comes with it? Shrimp sauce. And then the shrimp was like...
Cocktail sauce.
Cocktail sauce, thank you. And the shrimp was just like a garnish on top. Like, I'm curious. We have to make the recipe now.
I think he just took probably shrimp, put it through a blender, and then mixed it in with some pop slushie.
There's the official recipe, folks. Go try it out. Shrimp slushie by Glenn.
I would try it.
Oh, you would try a lot of things.
So Jonah Hill had to wear some costumes in this movie. One of them was the Sperminator, which is just a giant sperm costume.
But okay, yeah.
It had a little tail on it.
He was just a little teardrop. A little white teardrop is what he was.
No, it was more spermy. It was whiter than a teardrop. But it reminded me of my little small town. There was a bowling alley.
Where is this going?
We would have a yearly summer parade festival season. And in the parade, a lot of the small businesses would participate. And the bowling alley would always participate. And the owner had a young daughter. And, like, I was young. Like, I was probably, like, 10 or something. Whatever. She would have been 6 and above or whatever. And they would put her in this bowling pin costume.
Oh, no.
and it looked like a giant sperm. And, like, it was so sad because as kids, all we could do was laugh at it, right? But, like... And it wasn't even laughing at her, per se. Just the idea that this bowling pin costume looked like a giant piece of sperm. And I'm like, and looking as an adult now, I'm like, you put your daughter in that and let her walk through the whole town.
And don't tell me you didn't see it too. Don't like that.
Like, the guys as a parent, I mean,
yeah.
I saw it, but like,
like we're not just gross kids. You have to know that looks like a sperm.
Small towns.
Parades.
Okay, I have a question for you because, again, disbelief of the situation.
God, he just rolled his eyes so dramatically. Wow. Oh, God, here we go.
I've never rolled my eyes. What are you talking about?
You've never rolled your eyes.
I've only got detention for it like 5 times. Okay, when Blake Lively's character finds out that everything is fake in this college, and all the parents find out too that it is a fake college. How did she not know? Like, she'd been there for days at that point.
That's the problem, is maybe, just maybe, you can fool these outcast misfits, people with mental health problems, etc. She got into the most prestige college in their area. How does she not recognize that Bartleby is the one running this place, and that it's just ironic that Glenn and Hans and Rory and all these people that she knows didn't get into college happened to get into this random college that popped up out of nowhere that nobody's heard of. This started me on a tangent. Because she's smart. How does she not know? It's just, yeah, you're right.
So that part in particular was like, I was starting to think this movie is okay. And then the stupid things like that would happen where she's devastated, completely devastated that she's been bamboozled. And I'm like, they had a freaking whiteboard of their classes that
You were just taking a class where you were in a bikini on a lawn chair, okay, on a lounge chair.
Legit. The one person we haven't talked about at all, surprisingly, is the dean.
Yeah, the dean.
I don't have much to say about him.
I don't have much to say.
I think he's in the wrong movie. Again, I think the idea of what they did, bringing in this character who's not a dean to play the dean, could have been hilarious, and they were trying to be hilarious. And if the movie had been more comedic, then yes, he would have fit in. But because the movie, again, I don't think is that funny, it's more serious and heartfelt, he feels like he's supposed to be in a comedy movie.
Yeah.
And he's not in a comedy movie. So I think he's kind of forgettable because what should be funny scenes just aren't that funny in comparison to the drama that's happening around.
There's a little bit to talk about him, I think, going forward. But if you're ready, we can wind up and talk about the ending.
Sure.
So Harmon, the actual college, finds out about shit and bring the cops in. Everybody finds out that it's a fake college. They're not accredited. After a couple of weeks, B goes back to the college, finds the mail, and sees that there is a letter from the state of accreditation. And he finds out that Schrader, who, by the way, I know that we haven't said anything about this, but Schrader was not talking to him because he got beat up for the information about shit college. Schrader comes out of nowhere and says, I was the person, because you guys are all daft and didn't put in for accreditation, I was the person who put it in. And that's a really awesome moment for him to realize. And the line that he says, too, is so cute. He didn't want to be a 5th generation at Harmon. He wanted to be a 1st generation at shit. So cute. Like you said, heartfelt movie. They go to the accreditation, and everybody from the college is there. B makes this huge speech saying, we did learn things. The students talk about things that they did learn within their fun studies. They show their curriculum. And then the dean, we'll just quickly throw this in, the dean, who is actually, like, he's in education. He was a dean. They ask if they have faculty. The dean, he does not want anything to do with this. He just came because they're paying him. And he stands up and he says, like, yes, I'm their faculty. And he kind of agrees that, like, I will stay here and I will be the dean so that this place can run. They do get accredited for 1 year. They get a probation for 1 year to see if they can actually make this a running college, use the funds to actually turn it into something for it to become an accredited college, and we can only assume that it does become successful and it becomes a new college.
Or it fails miserably.
Shit college. Then it just shows the school a year later, whatever, in their probation. having fun at college. And that's the end of the movie, essentially. Here's the thing. That ending makes me, if not cry, I tear up. That ending really gets to me. Once again, I think it's about being like a misfit or an outsider or not a popular person or just different. It really is like, you know, like he says, you can sign your papers, you can deny us, you can do whatever, but we learned something this year and it doesn't matter what you guys had to say. Like, we found passion, we found love, we found friends, we found acceptance, and that's all we need. That's the end of the movie, and it was just like this, it was this like coming around moment where, you know, his parents were super proud of him for what he had done and how he got it accredited, and it was kind of just this like full circle of like, I don't need to go to college to be successful.
I just am the college.
So he is the college, and he turned from this like guy who couldn't even get accepted into a college to literally running his own college and obviously making millions of dollars and having a great time, blah, 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 accepting all these people. It's awesome. Roll credits. I really love this movie. I think it's so heartfelt, and I mean, it's classics things. The main character ends up with the hot girl. And
it does have a lot of tropes that are very similar to a lot of other movies, especially around that time period.
I think that it just goes to show that because the hot girl got to come in and be a part of the outsiders, it just shows that, like, it really truly is. If you're in shit college, you truly are accepting of everyone and everything. And there's no cliques, there's no hazing, there's no nothing. You're just all friends. Ching ching.
I do want to bring up, not related to any of that,
okay.
that Justin Long is very young in this movie, but he looks the oldest I've ever seen him. Like, I don't know if he's going through a phase of his life, like drugs or something maybe, but he looks not good in this movie. And
it's the hair.
Is it the hair?
Because at the beginning of the movie, he's got that weird, I've always said this, at the beginning of the movie, he wears his hair like down, like a fringe or bangs. And then at the end of the movie, he starts puffing it up, and I'm like, there's Justin Long. Yeah, he looks funny the first, 45 minutes of the movie. I agree. But what about Blake Lively? Why is she hotter now? Well,
like I said, this was her first phase. There's no denying, watching this movie, that she's had something done.
Yeah.
Because she's way, way prettier now.
Oh my gosh, she's stunning.
And she looks pretty homeless in this movie.
She is absolutely stunning. You know what? I honestly, maybe it's not even her face, maybe a little bit, but it's that hair she has in the movie, man. It you should have. No, it's the hair. It's bad. It looks like she just wore extensions for a year
and just slept in them, didn't wash them.
Yeah, and then filmed. That's what it looks like. I love you, Blake, but
I do too. I love a lot of her movies.
That hair choice, I know you love her. I know you do. You've mentioned it before.
So do you want to do ratings?
Yeah, we can do ratings.
Want to jump into it?
Yeah. So every podcast, for every movie, we do ratings. We have 5 different categories, 3, rating out of 3. So a total of 15. We always start with Edge of Seat D. Go.
I gave it a solid 2.
Oh my god. Good for you.
Because I was curious, I still think the premise is really far-fetched. There's a lot of... You really have to have a lot of disbelief to fully fall for this movie.
Yes.
It's not believable at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I was curious how they're going to maintain the illusion of a campus and how you're going to take care of hundreds and hundreds of students who aren't learning anything traditionally. So there was a little bit of, how is this going to work out? So yeah, a solid 2.
That's funny because I give it a 1.5. Ooh, you're doing better than me on my own movie. This is crazy. I give it a 1.5 because I can agree with you in a sense that it's more of just watching somebody build a college rather than there be some sort of there's not anything that's suspenseful happening where big things, the parents show up. There's not a lot of there's
not a big loss.
Yeah, it's not anything crazy. It's just seeing it, how it kind of plays out, right? So it's not a huge edge of the seat movie. I
think the biggest person to lose anything would be Jonah Hill and how he's treated. He could be murdered in this. How he's beaten up, he could have been killed. There's just so many things that happened to him that he's the one to lose most of his credibility, right?
Yeah. Next category is acting.
I gave it a 2 as well. I don't think there was anything inherently great. But I mean, it's not a movie where you expect great acting. And I did not care for like the Slurpee guy or the
Glenn?
the telekinesis guy. I did not think that was great humor and or great acting. So just because you look weird doesn't make you a great actor. So it was a 2.
I gave it a 3. I mean, love Justin Long, love Blake Lively. I think she's great at her kind of like she's a mean girl, but she's not a mean girl vibe.
She was like never a mean girl.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like it's
she like every scene she laughed in. Hi guys, like every single time she spoke. That's
the thing.
Like, why are you laughing every time?
I think that she did like okay. Apparently you didn't, but I think she did a great job of like she's the hot girl with the jock boyfriend who's a bitch to everybody and like all that stuff. But like she was also like not like she was befriending
want to mow my lawn
befriending Schrader or anything, but it's not like she was rude to him because he was different.
She definitely was not a mean girl.
So she was like she was the in between of like she's the nice girl but she's the hot girl, so you just expect her to like not be accepting of different like people who are different, right? People who aren't as hot as her. But obviously Jonah Hill, great actor, and I don't think he straight in this movie, and that's why I had to give it 3. There's just so many great actors in it, and they didn't waver in this movie particularly. So 3 for me. Next is script.
I gave it a 1.
I knew that was coming.
Again, because I did not like the idea of it not being that funny, but then not going far enough with the heartfelt things, or like giving Justin Long's character enough of a loss. Like, why are you really, are you just doing this so your family doesn't know you weren't accepted into other colleges? Like, there's gotta be more to lose than just his parents found out, dun dun dun, and then everything worked out anyways. So for me, it was a poorly written script in that sense.
Yeah, I give it a 2. Like, for instance, when all of these college people first showed up, obviously they didn't remodel or renovate the whole asylum. So they're just in rooms that are asylums, or they walk into that restroom that's just covered in shit and nobody questions anything.
Not even covered, literally completely pasted every inch of that wall and floor.
Nasty shit. And no student said anything, or nobody thought that it was weird.
Again, you have disbelief.
Yeah. I think the loss is like, it kind of comes towards the end. Like, he does have something to lose when it comes to the end, is that he did create this college that people felt accepted at and they felt home at, and it was his responsibility to make sure that they were living their best life, and he kind of took it on as his baby, and his loss would be not getting accredited. So, I mean, that is part of it, but yeah. Anyways, 2. And climax.
I gave it a 1. And mostly because it felt so similar to other movies around that time period. And the one that came to mind first was Legally Blonde. Have you seen Legally Blonde?
No.
Wow.
Okay, you say this as if we didn't start this podcast on the premise that I don't watch movies.
I know, but you like you like girly movies and you like comedies, and Legally Blonde is a girly comedy movie.
I did start watching Legally Blonde like within the last year and a half, and I just didn't. I turned it off after like 5 minutes.
To be fair, the first little bit is boring. I will admit that. Mm-hmm. But it's a great comedy movie, and it has I would say, a quite similar ending to like An Underdog and acceptance, and look how far we've come. That's very similar to Legally Blonde. So because of that, I was like, I've seen this ending before, and it just wasn't what I was hoping for an ending. And for that, it's a 1 for the climax. I got pretty bored once the parents came into the storyline and realized that it was all fake. I was like, okay, what's the end going to be? I was waiting for how it was going to end, and it kind of dragged. So yeah, it was a 1 for me.
Oh, my climax score's 2. I do really like the part where they're at the accreditation. He gives that big speech. Like I said earlier, it makes me cry because, I don't know, I like really connect with the characters. I don't know. I know that you say that there's no backstory to them, so you can't connect. Which, like, maybe this is me being the weird person who had the side shave and, you know.
I think I kind of fall in the middle of being a weird person.
And that's the thing. I think that, like you're close, but, like.
Not fully.
I would have been in shit college, okay? You would have been in Harmon being like, maybe I should be at that school. So I think that for me, like, that big speech is like super powerful, and just the way of being like, fuck you, we're gonna take what we learned here from each other and move on with it and be a happy family. And we made so many friends and look at how many people have our backs and blah, blah, blah. I love the ending. Honestly, if you have not seen Accepted, I feel like I say this in a lot of our podcasts. If you have not seen Accepted, just go watch the end speech and cry. And cry, because it's so sweet. Just think of like a bunch of like really...
So why is it not a 3 then?
Because it's not leading, like...
If it's so amazing you have to watch it and cry about it, why is it not a 3?
Because I think that a 3 is held for like very special stuff. Like I feel like 2 is like pretty just like standard. Like it's a standard score. 2 is like...
But you're at a point where you're crying. Like how much more special can it get?
Yeah, but I mean... Okay, it's a 3.
No,
I can't change it.
You know the rules. We can't change it. We've never changed it.
But what I'm saying, just like I'm saying, like there's not much after that speech that happens. It's a year later. They eat a fucking wad, and Schrader walks in saying he's teaching some class. Like, so yes, there's always faults to it. There's faults to it. It's not the perfect ending. It's not the perfect
slam dunk ending.
Yeah, it's not the perfect build up to it or anything. It's just that particular scene in the ending makes me cry, and I love it. It's very accepting, and I love it, and I want to be all their friends. Last but not least, as always, I know Dee's answers to this question for all of my movies. Would you watch again? I'm
going to preface this with, that is not true.
Okay.
And I have to explain this every time you say it, that I did enjoy previous movies you brought forward, like Hairspray and Catch Me If You Can. So you can shove it right up where the curling iron is going to go.
With that being said, 1, I would never watch this again.
No, my score for Would I Watch It Again is a 2.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
I did enjoy the soundtrack of the movie.
Okay.
It reminded me of my youth. Jesus Christ. I mean, I was 18, right? So that's a big part of my life.
I want to say this right now.
Yeah.
I just want to say the difference between like our ages based on when we graduated high school, just so that people can kind of get an understanding of why we keep saying like, this relates so much to me. And then I'm like, well, it kind of relates to me like a little bit. So Bartleby, D?
Yeah.
What year did you graduate high school?
2006.
And I graduated high school in 2014. So that just kind of gives you...
And this movie is set in 2006.
Yeah. So that just gives you kind of... We should have said this at the beginning. But it just gives you a difference of like... an idea of the difference. Like, you definitely graduated almost a decade before I did, and things changed, and that's where our opinions differ probably a little bit.
And like a lot of things didn't change.
Well, yeah, no, and a lot of things didn't. We can agree on things, but I just wanted to put that in here just so that people know that like there is an age gap here, and we had probably different times and experiences in high school.
That's fair.
Or in college or whatever. I also didn't go to college until I was 25, so...
Yeah, I graduated college in 2014.
Yeah, so you graduated college. I wasn't even thinking about post-secondary ever. I love this movie. I've seen it, I kid you not, probably like 50 times. I will watch it 50 more times. I love this movie so much. 33333. I love it. I love it, love it, love it.
I mean, but you've only seen like 10 movies, so that's why you watch them 50 times
exactly,
over.
That's exactly it.
It's going to keep happening.
Because I love...
Until we bring forward new things to expand your horizons.
Yeah.
One
day I'll watch Urban Legends 50 times.
It's going to happen. So with our scores, mine tallied up are 8 points.
And mine is 12 points, which is a total of 20 points, which actually puts it tied at second with dumplings for this season. That's crazy.
You know, that leaves a lot of room for other things still.
I mean, it really
That's 10 points still that have not,
It
last season we had 28. I think we had 29.
Yeah, we almost had perfect. Yeah.
So
maybe we're being a little bit too stingy with our ratings this season.
Maybe, but there's a lot of room for better things.
It's staying.
I will say that the message was, when life gives you shit, just do the best with it. That's it. Thanks for listening to Vantage Revival. Please like, comment, and subscribe